I know. Well, it's 1 o'clock, Ralph, so people don't have to listen to our pre-talk chit chat anymore. Welcome everyone to CadreTalk here today, May 6th. I'm here with Ralph Weaver. My name's Todd Taranto with Cadre, president of Cadre. CadreTalk is designed just to be a 30-minute quick session talking to an interesting industry leader every week, and in a very conversational format, and hopefully you learn one cool thing, maybe more, and we'll try. First, quickly, a bit about Cadre. We're an online marketplace that tries to connect professional industry freelancers looking for work with people that are looking to hire them. And what we are finding more and more is that as the industry comes back, we're getting more of that opportunity. So we're looking for people that work on site on events or people that plan events, because clients are starting to look for people for project work as the industry recovers. And part of Cadre is an acquisition we recently made of Meeting Jobs. Meetingjobs.com is the premier permanent placement site in the industry. And we're certainly hoping, and we're starting to see a lot more postings there for permanent placement. So that's our plug. Today, I am really excited to have Ralph with us today. Ralph Weaver is the founder and CEO of East-West Connection in New Jersey. Ralph's a client of ours. He's been with us for years. He runs a great shop. Let me see, Ralph, you go back probably 30 years in the industry, right, with East-West?
Oh, yes. Founded the company 30 years ago.
And before that, you were East-West Consulting.
Correct. Yes.
Right. And then before that, I remember you said you had like marketing and marketing communication experience in pharma companies, right?
That is correct. Yes.
So there was there must have been a progression that led you to build East-West Connection, I'd imagine.
It was, and that all happened. And sometimes you don't know why things happen in life. Yeah. But I was the director of marketing communications for a major pharmaceutical company, and had worked in the industry for about 15 years, and was responsible for organizing a number of events. And then I just was involved in a car accident, and I had one of those epiphanies that said, okay, what is it that I want to do with the rest of my life? And that started the foundation of East-West Connection.
And you said, I'm going to build my own business, and I'm going to get into this crazy industry, right?
Yeah, what was I thinking?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, today we titled this session kind of, when can we get back to work, right? And so I think it's really interesting to have you on, because a lot of us, we are second and third and maybe even fourth level suppliers to the companies like yours, right? With East-West, that's a boutique third-party meeting planning company, right? And so we don't get to talk directly to the clients, but you do. So what are you hearing? What are clients telling you now about restarting? We'd love to just understand it.
Well, the clients are basically saying to us, they're being cautious, but optimistic. Mm-hmm. And I think with the vaccines, that has helped that. But we hear people saying, that there's a desire for face-to-face meetings, live engagements again. So what we're hearing is a positive story, but it's not as soon as we all in the industry would like. Mm-hmm. But at least the conversations are beginning to happen where they're asking us about certain locations and what does a meeting look like, whether it's a hybrid, or what does a in-person meeting look like in the months to come. So we're glad that those conversations are starting to happen. But one of the other things that we're seeing and hearing is that they're asking us for our opinion. Mm-hmm. What is it that we're seeing in the marketplace? So I think at this moment in time, everyone is trying to get more information so that they're knowledgeable and they can make informed decisions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing August, September, and October starting to see some staff contracts beginning, right? Whereas for the past 12 months, 14 months, zero, right? So we're seeing that, and we're not seeing them cancel, right? We've had a couple restarts and we thought we were going to start up again and then they canceled again. What I found interesting, what you just said, was they're coming to you and asking you what meetings are going to look like, right? And so are they looking to you more like a consultant, like help me build this new thing? Like what should we do? Because you're starting from a base of 0 too.
Mm-hmm.
How are you handling that?
And I think that is the difference that I'm seeing today versus 14 months ago or before COVID, that it is that consultative approach. And that's what I like, having had my own consulting business versus clients say, okay, this is what we want, and you have no feedback or no say in that. So it is being at the table and being able to offer an opinion, some guidance to them, being able to offer critical thinking, strategic thinking, and looking at the overall planning of a meeting beyond just the logistics. It's that value add. What is it that you can bring? And that's always what has distinguished EWC over the years, just taking that strategic approach. And some of the things that we do may not fall into the bucket of what people traditionally think of a meeting planning company, what they do. But because of, say, my background and some of the other employees at EWC, what we bring to the table is that marketing approach to all that we do. So focused on the client's goals and objectives, how we can help them reach what's important to them at the end of the day and show that ROI in everything that we do. And so we like to say it's really that shift that is happening right now at our company in terms of the role that we are going to play with our clients.
So you think there's going to be new skill sets, or maybe you're seeing sprouts of there's new skill sets that companies are going to have to provide, and people, that means you're going to be hiring different kinds of people, right? I would.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. Because before, like, I'll give you an example. If you were you organize a national sales meeting and it's a 4-day event, and you know that there's a welcome reception on the first day, and it's the flow of that particular meeting. But since COVID, that's just changed it all, where you have to say, okay, there may be some hesitancy for people to come to that live meeting. How do you still engage those people? Budget, and it's going to be a bigger issue than ever in terms of, I think senior management at companies have said, we've been able to carry on these last 14 months without incurring all of the expenses related to travel and hotels. So how do you juggle all of that? Who is invited to those meetings? How do you keep people safe at those meetings? How do you be that observer and looking at everything at the meeting to see if people are having or comfortable in that new experience? So I think these first couple of months when we do start having those live engagements, we have to remain fluid. We have to also using our critical thinking skills to say, okay, this isn't working, and then be able to go to a plan B. And you're not going to have much time to do it. It's going to have to be really on the spot, moving forward and do it.
Yeah. Are you seeing clients? Is there any sort of, you mentioned like they're concerned, right? So there's there's all this talk about vaccines and requiring vaccines on site. And are you seeing among the people you're talking to any sort of policy standardization, or are you thinking of trying to come up with some sort of proposal to your clients saying this is the best practice in the industry, because it's such a it's wide open territory, right? And everyone's looking for guidance. So we're getting asked, hey, we want to bring 10 staff on site, but they have to have vaccines. Okay, we'll go make sure. But are clients trying to set some sort of policy, or is it all over the place?
I think many of them are trying to establish some sets of policies like we're trying to do at EWC, but we know whatever policies that we come up with, they have to be adjustable to what the clients want to do. And then when you're talking about the vaccine, you have to keep in mind just privacy in terms of health issues, and where do you step over the line with certain things in terms of insisting that someone has the vaccine and doing your due diligence to keep everyone safe at the meetings. So it is really a challenge, but it is working in partnership with the client. We give them our recommendations of what we think is best, But again, we have to partner with them to come up with something that is going to work, that reflects the culture of that organization.
Yep. 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 And hybrid's going to be a given for a while?
I think so, especially this year. I definitely think so, because again, with people, and again, a lot depends on what happens over these next, I'm going to say weeks or during the summer months. People getting comfortable with traveling again, going that airport experience or train experience. When people have been confined to their homes or just interacted with their immediate families, now we're asking them to re-engage. And so that's going to be a process that I don't think happens overnight.
Right.
So, but I do think it will be that and if the variants are kept at minimum in terms of how we're responding to it and the treatment modes for those variants, or the vaccine, if that still fights all the variants, I think we will have a good story to tell. So we can continue to have positive stories.
Yeah.
That is true, but it makes it tricky for our meeting industry, because when you look, we may be doing fine in the United States, but you look at what's happening in other parts of the world. And we are a global economy. So what goes on here, also we have to look at what's going on in India, what's going on in Russia, what is going on in Japan. So we can't just say, okay, we've handled it in the United States. We have 60% of the population already vaccinated. We have to look beyond that.
What do you think your first meeting out there looks like? What if you had to say it's a pharma client, it's at a location, it's probably X attendees, and I'm running it also. Tell me, like, when you go again, right? Or you're talking to clients, you probably got a bunch of RFPs out there, or responses about. What do you think that first one looks like again?
Well, double the meeting space. So for example, if you're having a meeting for 100 people, in the past, we would have needed X amount of space, but now you have to double that. Okay, what does that food experience look like? How do we have to build more time into, say, on the agenda, you have 45 minutes or an hour for lunch, and you have, double-sided buffets. All of that changes now.
Yeah, you can't just run 500 people through it, right?
That's it. And what does the room look like, the room setup? And so trying to, number one, get the space that you need, because as our clients are waiting to make decisions about where a meeting is going to be held, everyone else is doing that. So when the floodgates open, there are still a finite number of venues and hotels. So how do we then find the right property, and then the right property that has the sleeping rooms, or there could be an abundance of sleeping rooms, but we're taking all the meeting space. So and then they would always kind of tie those two together, right? They built those facilities because the ratio of meeting rooms to space was a way to maximize their profit. Right. Yes.
So now you're saying they're taking all this space, and they might have empty meeting rooms, which is really where they made their money, right?
Yes. No, that's correct. But it's also, we have to look at our contracts in a different way. When I remember 30 years ago, you look at the force majeure or some of the other language in a contract. But today it is looking at the cancellation policy, looking at what are they charging you for just the staffing for a meal function, that you're going to need double or triple the amount of people. So how do you make all of those adjustments? But I think the key thing will be just observing people when you're on site, to know if someone who has that anxiety about just venturing into the general session area, and just looking at body language, and that's something that's
things you didn't even have to worry about before, right?
No, you did.
You didn't have to have someone assign to a door to help some. You just didn't. People walked into a room because that's what you did.
Right.
How are the hotels to deal with right now?
Well, I think we've had so far, there has not been any issues, because I think everyone is at the point where they just want to see it back to whatever.
They're being
receptive. Yes, they definitely are. But I think the one thing, and this not just the hotels, but I think other suppliers that we work with, where, in this industry, so often it's last minute, where I need this, I need a quote on this. But with so many companies and that had to downsize during this pandemic, they may not be able to, during the next couple of months, get something back to you in a 24-hour turnaround because the resources aren't there. So I think on our side, we have to do our planning and keep that factor in mind, that and also setting the realistic expectations with our clients too, like to turn something around within 24 hours or within hours, when the resources may not be there on the side of the DMC to get you, or the information that the DMC has to get from someone else, they just can't turn it around. Like a transportation company, for instance, if you need 50 motor coaches, in the past, that would have been a no-brainer. But I'm sure all of those companies have been impacted. They've had to lay off workers, and they will not be able to turn things around.
Yeah, it's like I always think there's a movie, it's a cycling movie. It was an old one, Breaking Away, where there's this kid, he's riding his bike with the Italian bike group in Bloomington, Indiana. They didn't like him riding with them, so they took their bike pump, and while he's riding with them, the wheel was going, he was going 20 miles an hour, but they took the bike pump and just put it into his spokes, right? And just crashed. And that's what happened to us, right? We were spinning. We were wired, right? Everyone was wired for, you need 50 buses, you have this, you knew all the suppliers, you knew certain people that you wanted to work with when you went to a city, right? And now that whole engine is trying to start back up again, and we can't even count on all those people to even go back into place, because like we were talking about before we kind of came online here, people left the industry because they had to find other work, and people left the industry because we had to let them go. And that's going to take a long time to get to kind of an RPM running rate where we can. Do you think clients are going to give us any dispensation for that, or are they just going to still be?
I think they're going to want what they want and when they want it. I think they'll be understanding, but realistically, I think it's like no, because again, we have to keep in mind the pressures that are on, say, the people that we report to directly in an organization that may report to someone that may not understand. They just want what they want when they want it. So we can do what we can, but I think a lot of it is, if we keep in mind that all of us in this industry, we're interconnected, and then having some understanding and compassion for our fellow partners that we're working with, and to truly work as a team to make all of this happen, because we need each other. And I think this moment in time has taught us that. And I've always operated with that principle, but I think this past 14 months has just told me just how important relationships are, how important it is to connect with people, important to treat people with respect, so that people will want to go the extra mile for you. But it's all of those things. And it's been, and we were talking about it earlier, Todd, this moment in time has been quite humbling when you think of it. All the business plans that we had, the projections, overnight gone.
And it was, we were going into 2020 going, everyone was like, this is going to be a great year, because it was. I mean, we were ready to go from fourth gear to fifth gear and just hit on the highway. And and you're right, it's very humbling, right? And now we've all had to become very flexible.
That's it. And I think that flexible is the key for anyone in this industry. And as we're recruiting for people, new hires, that is what we're looking for. Someone that it can juggle and do many things, and do many things well, versus someone that says, no, this is all I do, all I want to do. That's not going to work, because the demands of the world are just so different today. But thank goodness for our technology. That, can you imagine what the past 14 months would have been like if we didn't have, Teams, Zoom, and all of the other technology, the innovations? We couldn't have, our businesses would have just gone under. There's no way we could have continued.
You know what it also shows us is this technology was here, but no one really readily adopted it, because we were just doing the same stuff all the time. I'm sure there were companies that were saying we could do hybrid and everything, but it was always kind of like an afterthought. And we could do, right? And it shows you like we were kind of forced into it, and now we're going to live with it. I wonder how many other things we kind of have to get pulled into to actually use, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a very good point, because at EWC, one of the things that we have learned that it's like we don't take anything for granted, from the client relationships that we've had for 30 years to the people. It's always, how do you reinvent? How do you re-engage? And to look at everything with a fresh perspective and with a sense of purpose, with a sense of excitement, a sense of joy and optimism, because that is the one thing I think is so important for anyone in this industry to have at this moment in time. But it's realistic optimism in terms of what can be accomplished, what it is that you can do. And I think together, and if we have a team of people that are on that same mission, that same overall view, then anything is possible. I have to believe that.
It's got to be your default. I mean, if you're stuck around this long, you've seen it all, Ralph, right? 30 years, you've seen. You had to build your business, and that probably wasn't just a joy all along the way in the beginning. And then you had 9/11, then you had the internet. Well, you had the internet boom and bust, and then you had 9/11, then you had the tech crisis, right? Or the financial crisis. Now this, right? This is the king of all crises, right? You guys have run thousands of meetings all over the world, right? So you're big in that sense in the long haul. But you've also said to me, we're not a big company, Todd. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not a big company, right?
Right.
Do you think that doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing? It just means you're a certain size and fit a certain niche. But do you think because of your size now, that's an advantage, knowing how much change is going to have to take place going forward?
Most definitely. And I've always looked at our size as an advantage, because when you think about it, if, for instance, if Deborah Dickerson on our team, director of operations, comes in and says, okay, I have this new approach that we should do about such and such. Oh, great idea, Deborah. Let's go for it. But having worked with larger organizations, I know by the time I would have spoken to 10 people to then sell it, months have gone by. So I think it adds to our flexibility, our ability to just react and to really be on the lookout for the best things that need to be done for our organization as well as our clients. And so I think it gives us, we're just fluid. How we navigate, how we shift at this moment in time is what I think clients are going to be looking for, because over the years, we have competed against the largest of the players in the industry, and we've won some, we lost some, but each moment we've learned something along the way that has made us better. So I'm looking at what has happened over this past 14 months. We've learned a lot, and it's only going to make EWC better.
Think you'll be hiring again into the fall, into the next spring type of deal? What do you have as a?
And I think we will. I think but there'll be smart hires. Yep. In the past, we would say, okay, we need to bring in this one, we need to bring in, but now we have to justify everything, looking at that bottom line. Does it make sense? Is it the right person that is the right fit for the organization? That you can't make any mistakes right now.
No, you're right. It's almost like we would always try to staff a little bit more than what our volume was going to be. And you could ride out the peaks and valleys, but you could buffer to the, when the tide sinks, right? All the cracks show on the bottom of the boat, right? And so that's where the stress, you can see the stress, right? And if you don't have, you have to have the right people, right? I'd rather have the right people than more people that are not. Right. But it's to have, I don't know, when times are good, mistakes can be hidden, right? But when times are not good, you can't afford to have the wrong people in place. You don't have the luxury of throwing another person at it. Right?
Yes, that's so true. And having the right people, you may be small in number, but you can get so much accomplished with the right team. But all you need is 3 on that team that are going in a different direction, and you could have a team of 60 people, but all you need is 3 that it's like, oh my goodness, that you can't accomplish anything. So I think it is the right people, and just looking at, I take it it's very important to me, because when I hire someone, I'm making a commitment to them. One of the hardest things that I had to do during this pandemic was to let people go that have been solid, good people, good employees, and to say, look, we don't have the business to sustain your, that was so difficult. And that, I think, caused me more anxiety and more stress than anything, because I know the impact that it has on someone else's life, someone's family, whether or not they can pay their mortgage, all of those things. So when we hire people, we're making a commitment, an investment in that person. So I don't want to just hire someone and then have that discussion, 2 months from now. I want to make sure that when you come on board, we'll be able to keep you, to sustain you. And that's so important.
And it's so important it's not like you're when you hire someone into your company, it's like you have to fit into the family that we're developing, right? It's not, you're going to the 5th floor and you'll be in the cube on the left down in the corner, right? And they have to fit. Yeah.
And with each new hire and I'm proud to say this, each new person at EWC has helped elevate our game, that they brought something new to it, so we can be open to new ideas, new ways of doing things. And it's the people that I know we have brought in over the last several years have just made us so much stronger as an organization. And I know that trend will continue as we look to expand to global markets, and our footprint is going to be different when we have this conversation a year from now. I'm very confident of that.
A lot of people I've talked to, they're like, I'm not sticking around for the next gut punch, Todd. I've been through them. This one did it to me. I love the industry, but I can't do it anymore. And I wonder if that creates a huge opportunity for a lot of young, new people coming up in this industry, because so much of this industry is relationships, and those are built at the kind of after you've been in the industry a while. But I'm hoping that kids right out of college and kids right out of high school want to move into the meetings and events industry, right? It's not a field that has a great pipeline there's no structured pipeline to get into here. Like, you can get into accounting firms, you can get into construction. It's hard to get into meetings and events, and it's such a great, place to learn about people and places and operations, and it has every aspect of business. I hope younger people, this really creates some openings for a lot of younger people.
I do as well, and I'm encouraged by the young people that I speak with. I do a lot of mentoring, and so there is I think an interest that people have out there. But what I say to people that are discouraged, you have to realize it's called life. It's the journey that we've been on. So whatever you choose to pursue, there are going to be blips along the way, some that may be harder than others, but you'll get through it. I mean, I think it's keeping the right attitude, staying positive, surrounding yourself with the right people, and to be willing and open to know what you don't know, and to be open to growing and learning. And I often say, until the day they throw the dirt on me, I still want to learn. Because I don't know it all. I think you have a problem when you say, I know it all. It's like, no, I don't. I make mistakes. I'm the first to admit it, but I learn from those mistakes. So there won't be any do-overs that, okay, I made a mistake. I made the same mistake again. I made it again. No, I'm going to learn from that. So that's what I encourage young people. And I hope more young people will get involved in our industry. And we're trying to attract them at EWC as a place that they will want to work.
Good. Ralph, this has been a great 30 minutes with you.
Well, Todd, you're the best, and I thank you for the opportunity.
We will have another Cadre Talk next week. I just want to thank Ralph on behalf of all of our participants and attendees today. Ralph, I hope we keep on working together and we fill up your schedule with travel directors and planners, and we just we get back to that point, and I know we will.
Okay. I like that. Okay. Thank you again.
Thanks for everything, Ralph.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.